This episode contains discussions of trauma, violence, and difficult life experiences. Colorful language not excluded. Listener discretion is advised. I'm Elizabeth Porter. After 20 years working as a lawyer with families, abuse, and mental health, I'm done ignoring the patterns. It's time for hard conversations that build awareness, create compassion, and change lives. Welcome to Law and Porter.
There was no flooring. It was red dirt. And then there was not a roof on the front end of the house. So it was just open, pouring into dirt like when it would rain. We had snacks in a basket. They were kind of rationed out because we were too poor to afford anything. And I remember my dad came out, and my dad had a really big beard. I was like smiling really big, and he looked really like nice and happy. And I was really excited because I never really had that. Like, he looked like a clean, safe man. That was like a big deal for me, was him just coming out with like a smile, like welcoming us. I realized like this life is too short for me to have spent it wallowing in everything that's happened to me instead of making that pain into power, is what I like to say now.
All right, Courtney. So when you think about your life story, where does it begin for you?
I think the most like monumental thing I remember from being young and like when I went into custody, like before that is when it starts. Like, cause I remember before I even went into custody and like when Cameron was born, my little sister, and all of that kind of stuff it kind of built me up to how I dealt with custody. Like my birth mom and my relationship with my birth mom, and then my relationship with my birth grandmother, her mother. That's where I lived and who I lived with before I went into custody, and kind of where it all started. And that really, to this day, shapes how I view things and kind of is the most impactful on my life.
How many years of that? Were you there 2 years?
I went into custody when I was like 4.5.
Okay. So the first 4.5 years of your life, you're even able to remember pretty detailed.
Yeah. No, I remember a lot from then. And I can't be like, I remember when I was 2, but I remember Cameron being like a little bitty baby, and I'm 2 years older than her. So that would be around the timeline that my memories start. But yeah, I went into custody when Ellie, my youngest sister, was born. She was born addicted to methamphetamines. And so that's when custody, CPS got involved and we went into custody.
So what was life like for you prior to CPS's involvement though?
I can like set the scene. This is usually what I do, and I like tell people my story from the get-go. We lived in Columbia, Mississippi, past the China, like Express, like Panda Express, whatever, that Chinese restaurant by the Shell gas station. You go down that road, like just follow it. And then we lived at the end, and kind of in the woods. We had a house. It was a kind of nice sized house, but there was no flooring. It was red dirt, except for a concrete slab that was in the back corner. And then there was not a roof on the front end of the house. So it was just open, pouring into dirt like when it would rain. And like that was just kind of weathered. And then the back was with this like concrete slab, and there was a roof there. So.
What about, was there food, water?
We had snacks in a basket. They were kind of rationed out because we were too poor to afford anything. And so I would have to sneak in there. And the only thing I really remember eating was like Oreos, like the little bitty packs of Oreos. But for the most part, I don't really remember food or anything. I remember a lot of Bud Light, which is what the adults around me drank, but I don't really remember much food other than like the snacks that I would like find. But I was also homeless, I guess is the term. I don't want to say it like I had that home, but for a little bit in that time period also. So my birth grandmother, she went and she was a prostitute, and she slept in a tent when she would prostitute, I guess. And she took me with her one time because her husband or boyfriend, I don't remember the like formal relationship term, he left. And my birth mom also left. And so nobody could watch me other than her, but she had to, get her drugs. So I went with her, and we slept in a tent. And I want to say it was like for a few weeks. Like it wasn't anything like crazy, like a couple months or anything, but it was like a long time. And that might feel longer.
Sure.
Because I was a kid, but it was like a long time. And then when my birth mom came back and my birth granddad figure came back, we went back to the house.
I know in the past you've mentioned to me times or recollections you have of kind of running the streets, even at 5 years old.
Yeah.
Or I think you said at one point maybe diaper. I mean, you're just half clothed going to the gas stations to get food. Tell me about that.
Well, like I said, like I don't remember much food. And that continued from not only the stage of my life where I was just really young and I would just walk because I didn't want to be there. Like I didn't know what was happening, but I knew it was bad. And I would see my grandma like shoot up. So I knew it was like was dirty and her needles were everywhere and it just wasn't like fun. You know, like little kid, I'm not worried about safety. I'm worried about like I was bored. You know what I mean? So I would like walk and just find my way through the woods. And I usually went to the Shell gas station. That's why I remember that. Because I would go there and steal food. They definitely knew, but you know, I don't know.
And I
it
know
was
you
just close.
Said something that, you know, no one called CPS then. Yeah. No one intervened. No one said there's this child who is not eating and coming and taking our food.
And I just like didn't have shoes and like wore like a t-shirt and maybe that was it. You know what I mean? Like I didn't have clothes. So like, I don't know how. And like, that blows my mind is like how if I saw a child, like a young child, as young as even 8, like, but I was younger, like wandering the street, the first thing I'm doing is stopping and like calling someone, like probably the cops, you know, like, right. Hey, there's a kid. Like, and I don't understand. I don't understand like how that's probably where my story should have started, but it didn't because bystanders, you know, they don't want to get involved. But at like, when you're a bystander, you're doing the same thing that the abusers are doing. Like, when you're silent, you're acting in it. You know what I mean? Like, if you're seeing this happen and you're not doing anything about it and you have the power to, you're helping that child be abused. So I don't know how, like, anybody in their right mind would have seen that and not done anything about it. Because it's like a public place.
At that time, when CPS did get involved, even though this was not the, you know, the fairy tale living environment, someone came and picked you up and took you. What was that like?
That part's kind of fuzzy. I remember more when I left the placement that I went to my parents' now house better. And I think it was because I was really confused. Like, I remember being in kindergarten and getting questioned because I was in kindergarten. I was young for my grade. My birthday's in August, right? So I was like almost 5 years old when school started. So I went to kindergarten and I went like without shoes on the bus, you know what I mean? And my kindergarten teacher, I don't remember her name, but she was really sweet to me. She was my favorite teacher. And she kept questioning me and like asking me like, hey, like, do you have food at home? Do you have a bath at home? Because we didn't have running water. Like I was filthy, you know what I mean? Like she noticed my teeth were like rotting out of my head. And she was like, are you like, is anything happening? And I don't remember telling her anything explicitly, but like, she did, I think, intervene. And I think when Ellie was born, like around that same time, like right before that is when, you know, people were like, okay, we should probably get intervened with this. Like this baby's born and she has siblings, you know. But I think it's more Ellie being born addicted that put us in foster care than anything I could have or didn't say, you know, because that was like you can't ignore that. Like,
did that season of your life, looking back, feel like it taught you anything about how people would respond when you were in trouble?
I think I got punished a lot at home for like talking too much or like being too loud or being in like adult business, you know, but I didn't really like the people ignoring me kind of felt normal. Like I didn't think me going to the public would have changed anything anyways because, you know, adults I knew about it and like nothing was happening. And I didn't know it was wrong. Like I thought it was normal, you know?
So even early on, before the people who saw you walk into the gas station or before a teacher who may or may not have alerted CPS, you already had that image in your mind that adults are not going to protect me.
Yeah. Well, the adults were the ones hurting me.
Right.
Like I didn't have kids around until Cameron was born. There was no other kid, you know, and I was like a baby then. So I don't remember like up till that point, but I do remember like there was a dynamic change when Cameron was born because newborns are more needy, but that's what like the stereotypical thing is. But I had my mom, my birth mom, her name's Deborah. Deborah was there and present with me. And I remember having a relationship with her until Cameron was born. But when Cameron was born, that's when she left. Like for a long time. That was like the longest time she had ever left was when Cameron was born.
Was Cameron with her, or she left Cameron also?
No, she left Cameron with us. Okay. And my birth grandma, Millie, Deborah's mom, she was so strung out all the time. Like, she couldn't even like walk straight. And so like, I honestly don't know how Cameron made it. Like, I don't know how she progressed into being like a person now, because she had no like nutrition or nothing. Like, my mom left. I was a 2-year-old when she was born. You know what I mean? Like, I was not taking care of her. And then there was no adult.
Yeah, the adults couldn't even take care of themselves.
No, like, they were so strung out on like whatever they were shooting up, or like the pills or alcohol, like anything. Like, so Cameron would have been, I think she's 2 years older than Ellie. So she was 2 when we went into custody. So I remember my grandpa figure, his name's Todd. I don't really remember why he was involved, but he did take care of us. He was like the nicest to us. And he'd never like hit us or abused us or anything that I can remember. But I think that's who provided her specifically like food, and me food also. But I don't really remember that. That all feels like a blur, because I remember being like so distraught that my mom left, because I'd never been without her before.
Was your mother, when she was present, a good mother?
No, she like was really childish. Like, she was young when she had me. I think she was like 18 or 19. And my birth dad, he's a drug-induced schizophrenic. He's been on drugs since he was like a young teenager. You know, that's what we think. That's like speculation. But like, she was with him, and she just was like, she thought it was funny like to get your kids to cuss. Right. She thought it was funny to like, you know, let your kids like try alcohol, you know, because it's not going to hurt them the first time, right? The 2-year-old won't be hurt the first time. But she was just kind of like a kid and didn't really know how to mother.
I think that for the general public who may not understand, or on the outside looking in, feels like taking a child from their biological family that is not necessarily healthy is always better for them. Yes, in the long run it may be, but that was still the person you were bonded to. Yeah,
and my mom now, you know, she's a mental health therapist, and she's very good at it, right? So when we moved in, like, Cameron and Ellie obviously had attachment disorders. You know, like, Cameron has reactive attachment disorder, and my youngest sister, Ellie, I don't remember what the term is, but she also had an attachment disorder where she would just like go with anybody. You know, like, we'd be sitting down in a restaurant, and she'd be like walking. And I'm like, we got to get her. Like, she'd go with literally anyone, because she never bonded to anybody. Because she went straight from the hospital to our foster placement. She didn't know my mom. But I did. And my mom now, my adopted mom, she noticed that I didn't really have a major attachment disorder, because I'm the only one that bonded to my birth mom.
Right. And
so that's like a very like sore topic. Like, I've been in therapy for like 9 years, right? But I still haven't touched on my birth mom.
But I think it's just important, and I'm certainly not going to be the one to push you, but I think it's important that people on the outside who think about kind of like the savior complex of a foster parent or an adoptive parent taking you out of this bad situation, that there is still trauma from removal from a place that wasn't healthy.
Well, that's the first trauma. Imagine the rest of it, you know?
Right. But that there is still trauma of being removed from that person you were bonded to. So when you said in kindergarten, that's about when CPS got involved. And so where did you go at that point?
I went to my biological mother's brother's house, so my biological uncle's house, and he had a wife and 3 kids who were all like young teenager, preteen, and then like a tween.
Okay.
And the youngest one of them was like 3 years older than me. He was 3 years older than me. So they were all like pretty much like a lot older than me. And then my uncle and his wife. But I never really knew my uncle before that. Like, I didn't know him. I don't remember knowing him. I might have known him. But I don't remember knowing him until I moved in with him.
So it was technically, by CPS standards, a kinship placement, but it was not a relationship you were familiar with.
No, not at all. I do not like remember knowing him before I lived with him for 2 years.
So tell me about that placement and living there.
So, kind of been a foundational part in this. All of my birth family's drug addicts, right? So my birth uncle, who I lived with, was also on drugs when I moved in. He was like
So CPS found him adequate. He became licensed to be a foster parent, but he was using drugs.
He was using drugs. That's like one of the most important things I remember from him is he would leave for like times, like on like periodic. He would leave periodically, like on multiple occasions, very frequently, and just be gone and come back absolutely strung out, like out of his mind. He was crazy. Like he wasn't right in the head. Like genuinely, I don't know how they found him inadequate, like foster parent. And then his wife, she didn't do drugs, but she just smoked, in the house. And Cameron had asthma at the time from it. And she was crazy, but she was more mean, like, and more, we're going to forget about your birth story. You're not going to talk about your birth mom. I'm your mom. And from the get-go, she told us that she was going to change our names when we got adopted, and it was just kind of like weird. Like she was trying to erase like everything I had known before to fit what she had like in place for me now. And then the kids, the two older ones were girls and they were all right. Like they were fine. But the youngest one was who I was closest to, the boy. He was like the one I liked the most and he was closest to my age, but it wasn't a good placement. And he was one of my perpetrators in the house. So it was like a confusing relationship because he was the one I was closest to, but also the one that was hurting me first. So
tell me a little bit about that. How long had you been there when things started getting bad?
Pretty much as soon as the CPS worker left that first day. I mean, I didn't have a bed. Ellie co-slept with them. She had a crib in the adults' room, but she co-slept with them, and she was like the precious like little baby, and like I think I harbor a little resentment for both of my little sisters in that because not that they didn't go through anything, but like they were more liked, like I was always a threat because I was the loudmouth and they knew I was telling, you know what I mean, or trying to tell on what was happening in the house, so they didn't like me for that reason. And you know how you see kids like in a bad situation, they're usually like rebellious and like, I'm going to go against you because I don't like you and you're hurting me, right? That was me. So because of the stuff I was like having to go through and the way the adults treated me and my siblings, like I've always been protective over them. And I was raising adults. They weren't raising me, like I was mad. So I would like act out like crazy, like slamming pots through the wall, like I was being bad, but I wasn't being bad. I was trying to make a statement. Because I knew what was happening was wrong at that point.
When you got there and you're 5 years old, you said the first perpetrator was this older sibling figure.
He was 10.
And I assume he started just with showing you attention, right?
Yeah. Well, he was my best friend. Like he was my friend in the house.
And did that turn into a sexual assault for you?
Yeah. I went through some very brutal rape and molestation from him, my birth uncle, and 3 of my birth uncle's friends, and the oldest girl's boyfriend and herself.
And that all started just from a child's... I don't want to say starting it, but did they know he was doing this?
Yes. The first time it happened was pretty soon after I moved in. We were playing outside and we were playing like this game with like Nerf guns, right? And like our trampoline had broken. So we like got off of that. We're in the yard and he's like, get on my back. And so I got on his back and we went inside to his room and he bribed me with bubble gum. That was in like, the closets that are like up on the wall with like the vent or like the heater or something that's in them. There was like a pipe and it had he stuffed bubble gum in it, right? Like the little yellow wrappered bubble gum. He bribed me with that. And it started off as like fondling and molesting. And that's what happened the first time. He just like, child on child sexual assault, made me touch his private parts. He touched mine. That was it. And he was like, don't tell anybody. I didn't. And then it progressed to the next time. And this happened pretty frequently. And he perpetrated me and the same bubblegum bribery. Right. And I went and told my foster mom, that was in the house. And she told me I was lying, and she took her black flip-flop and beat me with it and told me that I don't need to be telling lies on her son. And so that kind of scared me and kind of obviously deterred me from speaking up. But the next time it happened, I told again because it hurt and I was hurting and I wasn't okay. And she studded belt, beat me. It was a cycle, right? So I stopped telling. And then when her husband, my uncle, did it, that was brutal. And it was him initially first. We were at a family function and he went to pee behind a truck and he was like, come with me. And I had to like hold his private part while he peed. And I was used to it kind of at this point, like, okay, whatever. And then we went home and he perpetrated me. And then he also brought home his friends from that same party. And they all perpetrated me. And that happened on 3 different occasions.
Did his wife know about this?
Yes. I told her and she beat me and yelled at me and told me I was causing problems and being like a conflict in the family and I was going to make us go back to our birth parents who she had taught me to hate. Right. So I was scared of that, too, because I was like, well, she tells me those people are bad and they hate me. So I don't want to go back there so I can deal with this now. And then a different rape happened with the oldest girl, my oldest foster sister's boyfriend and her. That also happened on 2 occasions where the first one we were in the shower, all 3 of us, and she assisted him in raping me and they dropped me on the faucet. And so I had this cut and I have a scar from it in my temple. And so I was like throwing up and it was brutal. Right. And my foster mom, she walked in the house, in the room, in the bathroom. And she was like, what are you doing? And I was like, I told her what happened. And she took a screwdriver, a flathead, and she put it to the scar and like drove it in my head. And that is what deterred me from speaking up about it ever again, was because she made it worse and then made me clean up the blood and the throw up. So my response to that was to dress in layers of clothes. So it'd be harder for them to rip it off. And to just do my best.
And as someone who has, and I'm sure you know this now, that's a pretty normal response, is when you feel like the adults won't protect you, using common sense, something that you feel like can just possibly make it more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
How did, let me say this too, to your knowledge, you were also protecting anything from happening to your siblings, correct?
Yes. I don't want to speak too much on Cameron's story, but I did witness something happening to her and I put myself up to try to deter the attention. But I also, the first time it happened, I feel very like guilty about this. I saw it happen to her. Something happened to her. Not to the same extent.
You just saw her getting attention you didn't want her to get.
And I didn't do anything the first time.
As a kid.
And to this day, like, that makes me so emotional because I was parenting her. And I still feel guilty about that. But the second time, which was the only other time it happened, I tried to deter it. But, nothing was really happening that progressed that far. So it didn't really go to any other stance. It just stopped. But the first time I didn't do anything. I just turned my back. And I felt like I'd done what the adults did. And growing up with that, like, as a guilt. It was hard. Because, as a kid, like, I was going through it too. And, like, there was no way that, like, she had never not seen anything happen to me. And, like, people, they knew. Everybody knew. And she was younger than me, so of course I didn't expect anything from her. But it felt like I was being ignored. So, like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to turn my back. And I was a kid, so I'm trying to cut myself some slack for that. But I should have known, it's how it feels. Like, I knew what it felt like, so why would I turn my back on her? But I tried to, like, fix it with the next time. And I don't really even know what was happening the second time. I don't even know if it was the negative attention.
You just acted.
I just did kind of question, and nothing really came from that. But no, the first time that I knew for sure that something was happening, I didn't do anything. And I think that caused the tension in our relationship because I felt so guilty. And when I feel guilty, I just kind of cut everybody off.
Yeah.
So I like distanced myself.
What did that time of your life teach you about survival skills?
There was a lot of survival skills. Like, I don't even know how to answer that with like a linear answer. The men were raping the women, and I don't know if it was happening to the other sisters or to the foster mom, but I'm sure it was. Like, you don't get caught the first time is what like my parents now tell me, and like when I lie about something, but I kind of apply that to trying to figure out the why behind my childhood. And like, you don't get caught the first time, right? So this had to have happened to the little boy who perpetrated me. Like, he didn't get that from nowhere. And it had to have happened to the teenage girl who assisted her boyfriend in perpetrating me. You know what I mean? Like, there is a reason behind everything. So I feel like I was trying to learn and figure out how to deal with the fact that I was catching the brunt of everything, and I didn't know why. I was like, why me? What did I do? Like, I don't even want to be here. I didn't even ask for this. And so I distanced from everybody, or I was really mean and like broke stuff. Or I went to school and acted out promiscuously.
From ages 5 to 7.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I was in school. I was in 2nd grade when I moved, but I was in 1st. And I would like, kiss the little boys on the cheek in the playground because I didn't know any better. You know what I mean? And I wore lots of clothes because I never knew who would want to try something with me again. So, I think a lot of my survival skills came from pure like avoiding specifically getting raped again or beat again, because it would like clothes would cushion the blows and be harder. Like, it'd give me more time.
Right.
But other than that, like basic like survival skills of like eating, drinking, like hygiene, like that stuff was kind of just, I just didn't have it. So I didn't really think anything of that kind of stuff.
Were you getting medical care?
I don't remember going to the doctor at any point during this time.
Looking back, how do you think CPS missed all of this?
I think you can learn to turn your other cheek. CPS, I didn't have a bed. I did not have a bed in this house. My foster parents claimed that me and Cameron were sharing a room. And there was like a little bed, but I was not allowed to sleep in that bed. And my teeth were rotting out of my head. But we did have toothbrushes that I wasn't allowed to use when the social worker left. You know what I mean? Like, my foster parents put on a big show. And if you see it once and you see that show, then you're not going to get involved, because CPS does not want to deal with things that they don't have to. And
really, but there are certain little things put in place that even if they had been followed, about just maintaining dental appointments and other things that the right people could have asked the right questions, right?
Yeah. I mean, I had caps on my teeth when I moved in with my parents, but my parents, like now my, but I don't remember it.
Right.
Like, I'm sure I did go, and I'm sure like I went to the doctor. I don't remember anything other than really school, us moving. We moved a ton.
And that probably helped keep eyes off of you for a long period of time.
Yeah. And like what was happening at home.
Right.
And mind you, during this time, my birth mom was in and out of the house, and that was not supposed to be happening. And Ellie's birth father, we had a relationship kind of with him because he and my birth mom were together at the time. I don't remember my birth dad other than one time when I was 3, like before I moved, so my birth mom and Ellie's birth dad were in and out of the house, and we had a relationship with them still. So I was still getting ripped away from my birth mom, and now Cameron was too.
Every time she would come and go.
And then my birth uncle, that was my foster father at the time, also left in and out. So like there was just adults coming and going, and I was getting hurt by each and every one of them, and it was just a mess because Tara, all of her kids had different dads.
Okay.
Well, my foster mom, all of her children had different dads, and so there was just men coming and going. My birth mom coming and going. She had boyfriends coming and going. Like, I don't remember a lot of the stuff. It just felt kind of like a blur, like static.
When CPS got involved or someone did come and get you, how did that feel?
like when we were moving.
Yeah, and I don't know how long of if you had any warning that was going to happen.
I told the social worker at school. And that's when we left.
So once you finally told the social worker at school about the abuse at home.
Yeah, she asked me if I was getting abused, like sexually abused, and she like had a chart and like asked where I was getting touched, and I pointed and all of that stuff, and that's like from then like it started like spiraling down into us leaving. Like it was very quick. Like we left like pretty soon after that.
I mean, pretty soon, like that day, or was there still you go back home to this place?
We went back home for I think a night and a day, because I remember sleeping there and packing, and then my foster mom sitting us all down, like all of the kids, sitting us all down and telling us, and we were all in a circle on the living room floor, and I remember shutting down because I knew it was my fault, and everybody was upset, and everybody was mad, and yelling, and who did this? There's no need for this. They're stupid. Like just absolutely like enraged, and it was me. Like when you like. This is a term like my dad now, like when you get in trouble, like when you throw a rock into a pack of wolves, the one that yelps is the one that, got hit. I was trying not to be the one that yelped. Like I did not want them to know it was me, right? So I sat there and I listened and I cried because it was another, like situation that was tense, and it was my fault. Everything was my fault. The abuse was my fault. Like that's what I was being told, like I felt like it was my fault again. And then I helped Cameron pack. And I packed as much as we could get. We packed our dirty clothes because we didn't have any clean ones. We brought dirty underwear, moldy stuffed animals, and random like bottles of little mini shampoos to my parents' now's house. So a stranger picked you up, or did you know the caseworker? I didn't know the caseworker.
Stranger comes and picks you up.
Mm-hmm. We was in a little black car.
Even though it's a stranger, did you have an immediate sense of relief?
No, it was terrifying.
Because you don't know what's next, right?
Well, when we left, we met in a parking lot with this stranger that was taking me to now my adoptive parents' house. And this is one of the more traumatic kind of memories for me is when we got out the car, the kids, my foster siblings, were like grabbing at us, trying to keep us in the car and like screaming, like bloody murder screaming. And then we shut the van door on, like they were in the car and they were like banging on the windows and like screaming. And then the foster mother, mind you, my foster father was incarcerated at this point. He got convicted for stealing and drugs. So he had criminal charges while he's a licensed foster parent and gets convicted. And we hadn't left yet.
Right.
Mind you, that happened before we left. And that was also a traumatic memory. But yeah, when we left, my foster mother was holding us and like, these people aren't going to love you. You're coming back. We're going to adopt you. Like, you don't know these people. Don't trust these people. And this is what screwed Cameron up. And I say that, and that's blunt and that's abrasive, but her brain, her poor little 5-year-old brain was so scared at night because this woman was telling us, we're going to come through the windows and get y'all back. Like, don't trust these people. And like, I'd kind of grown accustomed, and I don't mean that in like a flex or a brag, but unfortunately, like, I kind of was like, she's kind of crazy in the head, you know what I mean? But Cameron trusted her. That was the only mom she had ever known. And so Cameron's terrified. Ellie's glazed over. Eyes just like absolutely like glossy and not saying anything, just there. And I'm like hugging this woman because I loved her. But then I was also like, thank God, like I don't want to be with you. Like you're hurting me and I've told you what's happening. You haven't done anything for me and all this stuff. So it was very confusing for me. But I buckled Cameron and Ellie up. I didn't want the social worker, whoever that was, to touch them. Like I was like, I've got this. Like they're not yours. I've got them. And then we left Columbia, went to a gas station in the middle of the trip, got some snacks. Cameron was screaming. And then we got to the house. And I remember my dad and my mom came out, and my dad had a really big beard. I was like smiling really big. And he looked really like nice and happy. And I was really excited because I never really had that. Like he looked like a clean, safe man. And that was like a big deal for me, was him just coming out with like a smile, like welcoming us. And my mom, of course, she was like warm, arms wide open, but I'd had a lot of moms, right? I'd never had a dad, and I was terrified of him. Like,
That's what I was wondering.
Don't get me wrong. I was scared, and I was like, until like 3 years ago, closed off. Okay. But that meant a lot to me. And I don't know what I was expecting. Like, I don't remember expecting there to be a dad there, you know? But that meant a lot to me. But of course, I walked in, Cameron walked in, Ellie walked in, and Cameron said, "This is Courtney." And she like, this was crazy to me because I'd always been the one that was like setting things in line, but I was terrified. Like, I like retreated. Like, I did not know what to do. And Cameron stood up and she was like, "This is Courtney. I'm Cameron. I'm Cammy. And this is Ellie. We're sharing a room and she gets her own room." And that was it. I mean, that was the plan anyways, right? But Cameron like told my parents what they were gonna do. And I went to my room and I went to sleep. And that was the first bed I'd ever had.
I was going to ask you about that. You were immediately able to go to sleep.
Yeah. And Cameron and Ellie slept on the couch with my parents.
Looking back, are you surprised you were able to go in and go to sleep?
That's my coping. My unhealthy coping is
I've had that one too. Okay, good.
When I'm upset, I just cut it off. I just go to sleep. I'm doing better now. Like, I do better with like trying to stay up and deal with it or write about it. But my go-to is to just sleep.
Well, there are worse ways to cope.
Oh yeah.
So that's a pretty safe one that kicked in.
But that's what I did. And it's exhausting, you know, being in a house like that and going through a process like that. And it's like a 30-minute drive. Like,
but it's also interesting. You didn't feel like you needed to be alert.
No, I didn't. Not that night. I didn't. I felt tired. I was just tired.
What was it like from that? You know, after you've gotten there and you're at this new place?
It felt really like warm. Like, we had water, we had food. And by water, I mean like bath water, like any water, toilet water. Like, I was able to like brush my teeth and wash my hands. You know what I mean? Like, I had not had that before. And I had a toothbrush. I wasn't hungry. They tried their best to talk to us. And like, I remember, I think I was pretty closed off at first. But I warmed up really easy. I warmed up really quick because I wanted it so bad. I wanted like just a friend, like just an adult that liked me, you know? And so it wasn't hard for me. I warmed up really quick and I called them like Miss Ashley and Mr. Jeff. And I just was happy that like I was happy and that Cameron and Ellie were happy. It took Ellie a little bit to like wake back up. I feel like is like the term. She was just so like glassed over, like she wasn't herself. And Cameron, she was funny, but angry and scared and did not trust, like at all. Like neither of us did, but like she was something different. But she thought people were about to come through a window. Like she genuinely thought that and like had that fear. And so like, you know, you can't blame her for anything. Mm-hmm. And she was like the hardest kid when we moved in. She was, bless her heart, like a monster, right? Like a little 5-year-old monster. But like, in looking at it then, I was really scared that it was going to get us sent back. Like as a kid, like in that moment, I was really scared that her behavior was going to get us like sent back and like they were just going to give up on us, but they never did. And that was like a big part for me, was like they accepted it. Unfortunately, I also know that I was blessed to like go into a household that was trauma informed and aware. And like my mom's a mental health therapist, you know, like she kind of had been around the block, you know what I mean? Like she knew. And they were very comfortable. And like my mom was like 29, like they had waited for this. They had prayed about this. They knew it was their calling and they were willing to deal with the punches that were coming. And in my experience, and I know other experiences, that's not usually the case. Like that is a rare case, which is why the stuff that happened to me, and the stuff that happens to kids I know happens to them. Like, my parents were good ones, and I'm blessed to have that privilege because it is a privilege when you're in foster care. And like with my brother, like he moved in later when it was like 2020, and we moved in 2016, mind you. So that's the time frame. Like I'd been with these people for 4 years. I was comfortable, and then I get a brother, and I gave him my room, and that was a big deal for me because I love my room. But I helped decorate, and I was excited, and I would not shut up about it every day. Is he coming? Is he coming? Like when do I get a brother? I went to school. I was in 5th grade. Everybody knew I was getting a brother. They were like, "Your mom's pregnant?" And I was like, "No, he's older than me. He's in our grade. Like he's coming to our grade."
Don't y'all know how this really works?
Like, and I was so excited. And when he got there, everybody knew his name already, because me, I'm a loudmouth. And it was really exciting. It was really scary. Never had a brother that treated me well.
Yeah,
you know. But like, I don't know. Like my parents, they're good parents, and my brother helped Cameron feel safe. He was a monumental change for her. Was like he made her better. She kind of changed when he got there, and I don't know how to explain that one. But they weren't even like best friends, you know, like it just made her feel safe or something. I don't know. But yeah, no, when we moved in, I was really easy because I wanted it to be easy. I wanted them to like me. I wanted it to be.
You wanted to stay.
I wanted to be smooth sailing. I wanted to stay. Cameron threw me a loop every day because you didn't know how she was going to act, quite frankly. But they chose us anyways. And then
even being in a safe environment, did it take a while though for you to turn a lot of those defenses and survival mechanisms off?
Yeah. To this day, I still struggle with trusting.
Sure.
And not really my parents. Like I learned to trust them, but sometimes I get sent back in that survival mode because of, the effect that trauma has on you. And growing up, like it'd be years past. Mind you, it took 4 years for me and Cameron to get adopted while in a safe home because of the failure in the broken system. But like, it was so scary to me because that's 4 years of uncertainty, and that's 4 years of having a different last name than your parents. And at school, people are very confused. They're like, well, why don't you have that last name? And then Ellie getting adopted first because her birth parents, my birth mom, her rights were terminated, right? But Ellie has a different dad than me and Cameron. So her birth dad signed over his rights, and she got adopted first. And that was really confusing. And I remember crying. I wanted to be adopted. I wanted for it to be done, but Ellie got it first. And I was kind of confused, but I was happy because they told us that they weren't going to separate us. So if Ellie got adopted, that meant we were staying.
Yeah.
So that was good. I was jealous, but it was good. And then we got Daniel. Daniel got adopted in like 6 months because he was just free for adoption if he stayed for us for 6 months because his parents' rights had been terminated. Mm-hmm. And then me and Cameron got adopted like a year later.
Do you think that the length of time it took for you to get through the CPS process further traumatized you?
It definitely didn't help. In a house that was safe, I don't think I had any more, like, I didn't have any new trauma, but it reiterated the old trauma a lot because I didn't feel like I was staying.
And for some children, that may be the only traumatic part of it because they didn't have the trauma coming into foster care that you have. And so then that can traumatize them, all the uncertainty, different last name, feeling different.
It feels like a fake promise, kind of. Like an empty promise. Like, yeah, we're going to adopt you, but not for another 4 years. And I know that wasn't like my parents' takes, right? But, and then especially hearing the reason why. Like your birth dad got out of jail. A schizophrenic has rights over you now.
Yeah.
I was little. Cameron was little, and we didn't know him. And so in my head, I went to bed every night. Like, if I go home with him, I'm not going to a home.
There's so much uncertainty, and you could feel it, even if you weren't old enough to really understand.
Yeah. And my mom, like my mom now, she told me, like, you're not going to go with him. They know he's a drug-induced schizophrenic. Like, he doesn't even have a home, okay? You're not going to go with him. And I believed her to an extent, but I also know that I one time didn't have a home.
Right.
And I one time also lived with drug addicts. And I also, like, it didn't matter. Nothing mattered. And so like, it didn't make any more sense for me to stay with my parents now than for me to go home with my birth dad because the system had put me through both, like it just felt like I was never going to get out of it.
And there's such a need to feel safety but even their promises really weren't enough until it was a sure thing.
Yeah. And I hate that legalities matter. Like, the last name change was pretty cool, but it was the like stamp on the paper. Like, that's done. Nobody has rights to me ever again.
No one can get you.
You know, like, this can't happen. But then growing up in the world we live in with social media and stuff, I mean, like, a few weeks ago, my birth family tried to follow me on Instagram. You know what I mean? And on TikTok, some of my perpetrators and the foster placement I was with previously also tried to follow me on TikTok. You know, like, these people do have access to my life, and that would have thrown me, if I had a phone, but that would have thrown me into a spiral back before I was adopted, because there was no certainty. Like, there was no reason for me to not believe that I was going to go deal with those people again. Now, that doesn't, like, that's like, okay, well, of course they know my social media, they know me, but they don't know me. I'm with my parents now. They're my parents. You know what I mean?
Isn't it fun, though, now to kind of change the narrative and change the story on them to show them who you are?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Because as soon as I grow up and can be successful and am a lawyer, watch me prove all of them wrong. Like, also, I'm going to rub that in the post about it. And then when they check my Instagram, they're going to be like, dang, she's going to get me, so I'm going to leave her alone.
You don't have to wait to grow up to make a difference.
No.
You realize the difference you're making now?
Yeah. I'm pretty good at it, I would say. I make people feel safe because I'm so loud about it. I don't have a problem being an open book. And I think that's my strength, is I can talk.
How does a child go through what you've gone through, and at such a young age figure out how to take its power away and use it for good? How did you do that?
I think with me, I didn't initially. I spent 9 years. Okay, that's an exaggeration. I spent 7 years. It's been about 2 years of me being like this. I spent the first 7 years of me living with my parents now in a victim mindset, in a victim spiral of, this all happened to me. I'm never going to be okay again. My sexual assault's never going to let me have a healthy marriage. Me being abused and abandoned means I'm never going to have a real friend. I can't do anything in my life because I don't have the ability to, because of everything that's happened to me. But I changed my mindset because my aunt died. My mom now, her sister, she died, and it was for no reason. We have no answers. We do not know what happened. And I realized that could have been me, and I could have made no change with all the stuff I've been through. And that's what changed. It clicked. And I started speaking up, and I founded a mentorship program for kids like me, or not like me, kids who need a friend. And I started giving public speeches at foster parent recruitment groups, and it was because of that. I realized this life is too short for me to have spent it wallowing in everything that's happened to me instead of making that pain into power, is what I like to say now. I had and have a lot of insecurities about my intelligence, about my abilities, but I've never really had insecurity about my voice, because as soon as that stuff happened to me, I told, and I got beat, and I told again. And then I went and told somebody else, and it did deter me, and I did take a break. So I can't say I was perfect in that, but who would have been, but I've always been up and out and loud and open and tried with my voice. It's gotten me in trouble, and most people are not the most fond of me because I am just there and up front, and I'm going to say what I think, but it's worked. I wouldn't have been here if I didn't have my voice. And that's what I want to help other people understand, is it is a choice, and you do have a voice whether you see it or not. But that's why I'm here. It's if you want me to be here, then you can speak, and I see you if you don't, and I believe you if you don't, but I'm going to help you. You're going to speak eventually because you can, and it's your right.
Was there ever a day when you felt like it was too much and almost checked out? Because I think we live in a culture now where it's a little too easy. Mm-hmm. And was there ever a dark day like that where you just felt like you couldn't outrun this?
I have those days almost every day, but it's a choice. You have to choose it. I choose every day to wake up from the bad dreams or the flashback and get up and brush my teeth and make my bed and go to school and go home and do my best.
And to still fight it, like, openly.
Oh, yeah. And, like, it sucks. And, like, I'm a teenage girl. I'm 16, right? Like, I have a boyfriend. That's hard. Okay? I'm not trusting of guys. I'm better now than I was because I've worked through a lot of stuff in therapy. And that is a privilege. And I'm grateful to have that privilege. But, like, you know, like, it's hard to be normal sometimes. But I hate that phrase.
I was about to say, it's totally overrated.
But nobody's normal. And once you accept that, you're free. Because my normal's not your normal. And your normal's not a kid in foster care's normal. And their normal's not a kid with a white picket fence, not nuclear family dynamic. Right. Which also doesn't exist.
Right. Who knows what's actually happening, right?
But, like, no, I mean, you have to choose that every day. You have to choose to get up. And once you're up, you're fine. The hardest part is getting up.
That's exactly what I was going to ask you. So for you, when you have those days, which is every day, you just make a quick action.
Yeah, I mean, like, it sucks. Life sucks. If I didn't go through trauma now, junior year of high school would suck. You know? Like, everybody's going to have their thing. We're all broken. Okay? But we can all help each other. So I get up and I'm like, dang, I don't want to do this. I don't have a purpose. I don't have a meaning. And then I'm like, wait, no, you're dumb. You can get up and go to school and make this change so you can grow up and keep using your voice and progress and to be a really good, badass lawyer and fight for those kids that were just like you. And you can grow up and you can put the people that hurt you in prison, and you can grow up and you can go deal with, like, lunacy court, which I learned from you because your birth dad's a schizophrenic and you want to understand that better too. Like, I have so many dreams, and the only reason I'm going to be able to do those is because I get up in the morning. Like, and it's hard. It's so hard. But it's no harder than anybody else's. And if I do it, that means somebody else can do it too. And it's not noble. I've messed up, and I make my mistakes. But it's something. And I wouldn't be where I am without my privilege of therapy and my privilege of a trauma-informed, like, parenting household. And honestly, as hard as it is to say, I bonded to my birth mom. And that's made my life a whole lot easier to where I've seen my siblings struggle, all three of them. My brother and my sisters, they've all struggled with that attachment. And it's been easier for me. And I think I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for her. And I'm grateful for being born. And, like, she chose me in a sense. And I can understand that. I'm just trying now to make peace with my past life in order to make progress with my future life.
And isn't that, I know you say you're privileged because you've had these things handed to you, but we just got finished talking to your mom. And one of the things that she was very adamant about is it still has to be the child's choice.
Yeah.
And so you may have had those opportunities, but ultimately you chose to want to get better.
Well, like I said, I spent 7 years in a victim spiral. They could not get me to look at my life and see anything positive. Like, as trauma-informed as my parents are, it didn't work. Like, it did not.
Until when? What had to change?
I realized that my life is not promised. And I want to be the change in the world. I want to make change. I want to help kids. I want to help adults. I want to help everybody. And I want to be an inspiration for my sisters. You know? And I just had to realize, like, one day that I could be doing good with my life. And all that stuff that was bad that happened to me doesn't have to make it, like, still on me now. Like, I don't have to let those problems and issues be my issues because of what adults chose to do to a kid. Like, that same kid is in me and she's voicing through me today, right? But I can change that and be a grown-up, like, empowered person from everything that happened to me. And I just had to realize that. It did take a tragic event to get me to realize that, but everybody learns the hard way, right?
And so you're able to say, these are the pieces of me that this happened to, but they're only a part of me. Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't get rid of it.
I was going to ask you that.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't relive it. I would hate to have to go through all that again, but I don't want it to go away. Unfortunately, being abandoned by my mom and being raped by 6 men and being told I was dumb, but then also being told I was smarter than everybody and that's why I'm the way I am, and being told I'm too loud and being told that I'm a snitch and I'm a crybaby and I'm too sensitive. All that stuff is why I'm here. Like, because I am a crybaby and I am sensitive, but that means I'm passionate. And I am a snitch, but that means I got my sister safe. And I got myself safe. And I am loud. And that's why I'm good at this. Like, that's why I'm in courtrooms, like interning with you, and why judges know my name already. Like, I do have those weaknesses, and yeah, okay, what about it? But like, that's why I'm the way I am. And I was that way before all the bad stuff happened to me.
They picked the wrong victim, huh?
Well, yeah, like I was that way before people took a toll on me. I just had to realize that.
That's right.
Like, I've always been loud, and I've always been passionate, and I've always been a crybaby and sensitive. But what about it?
You learned how to make those, what other people called your weaknesses, your strengths.
Yeah.
What would you tell social workers who actually do want to do better and to help understand children in foster care?
Be there. Look at the details. Listen. Get off your phones. Stop looking at the fake wannabe houses and investigate. Like it. And I don't mean to be abrasive. I wish I could be more welcoming, but like, you have to do your job. You're there to look, and you're there to examine, and you look at the food in the fridge. You don't just look at the fridge. You look at the bedrooms. You don't hear about the bedrooms. You don't give the kid your phone and just hear them blabber and just do something else. Okay, you have to listen, and you have to be there. And when they tell you something, you take it like it is the truth you have to hold your life to. And if they're lying, okay, they lied, but at least you checked. Like, and be there. Be a heart. Be a shoulder. Let them hold your hand, okay? Like, you don't have to stick and be like sterile with everybody. Like, they're kids, they're babies. And like, you're only in their life for a bad reason.
I think sometimes they may feel like they're checking off a list, but in the process,
You can't check off a kid's life as a list. It's their life.
well, and they don't listen or make themselves seem approachable to where you feel like you can tell them.
From my experience with my social worker, she just made me feel like I was talking to a wall. The first one, I've had multiple, but the first one, she just gave me her phone, and she told me, okay, yeah, okay,
To keep you busy.
whatever, okay. She took the foster mother's word as the truth and didn't investigate anything. And if she would have took one step into any 5 of the houses I lived in, it would have been there, but it wasn't, because humans don't want to have to work. We want things to come easy, okay, but it's not easy being a child in foster care, and it's not easy being a social worker. I give them credit for that, but don't make a kid's life harder because you don't want to do your job. Don't do that job. Like, you just have to, you have to show up and be there and be present and take every house like a step at a time and be as thorough as the first one or you are with the last one at the end of the day, because those are people's lives and it's your life. Imagine if my social worker identified herself hearing this. I hope she feels guilt. I hope she knows I'm talking about her, because she did that and she could have changed my life earlier. I'm glad she didn't, because now I have my parents and my family now, and I wouldn't trade them for the world. And I don't know where I would have ended up if I would have left earlier. But also, like, look at everything and hear everything I've been through and know that you were in my life when that happened too. And like I said earlier, if you're silent, you're active in the abuse. If you're a bystander, you are doing the same thing that the abusers and the perpetrators are doing. Because when you look at a child and you know that something's happening to them and you're not doing anything, you're selling them short and changing their life as well.
What would you tell the hurting teenager or the hurting preteen who feels like they don't have control and that life is always going to be horrible? What life-giving words can you share now, that not when you're a lawyer, not after a law degree, but that you think could change the trajectory of someone's life who's listening?
Your life is worth it. You have purpose, even if you can't see it yet. You can be happy. You just have to make that choice. You have to realize that your life is worth something no matter what's happened in it. And that you're a person too, no matter what's happened to you. And that you do have purpose. And you went through that not to be a victim, but because whatever higher power, I believe it's a God, but if you don't, there's a bigger picture. You have to look at the bigger picture. You're a piece in a puzzle that's going to change the world. You just have to choose to be that piece. I just didn't think I had purpose. I didn't think I had any reason to keep going. I was what those people told me I was, and that was it. But that wasn't true. I just had to look from this level and look into what I could have been and I could be. And that's what changed it for me. So I guess you have purpose and you're worth it no matter what's happened to you.
Thank you for sharing your story. I know it and I cry every single time because every time you are stronger when you tell it. So thank you. Thank you to our sponsor, Porter Law Group, for supporting these conversations. When family is on the line, experience matters. Porter Law Group specializes in custody and family law with compassion at every step. Visit porterlaw.ms now to schedule your consultation to protect what matters most.